What's going on, you lot, and welcome back to another video. Hope you're all good. It's been a while since I've done an editing tutorial on this channel, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. I've delved deep inside my archives and I'm going to transform this photo from this to this inside a Lightroom. Let's get stuck into it. Right, this photo was shot roughly about a year ago, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 17th of the 1st, 2020 at 16:55. Shot 1/25th of a second at f2.8 ISO 160 at 75mm. This was shot on my Tamron. I remember back then I was going through a bit of a stage where I had to shoot everything at the lowest aperture possible. If I take this shot again, I would probably shoot it around f4, f5.6, and I'll show you why. At the back of the car, you can just see the focus feathering off around the back of the car. Obviously with the higher f-stop, everything will be in focus, and that's what I'd want to go with now. With that, let's just get into the editing. This is going to go up on Instagram, so I'm going to crop it to 4:5. That's the usual crop I use for all my Instagram posts. It maximizes the space on your feed. I use this grid method rather than the other ones because it allows me to count the little squares either side of the car and make sure the car is perfectly centered or exactly where I want it to be inside the frame. The frame is not too bad. I'm just going to straighten it up and maybe crop it in a little bit. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so we're still not perfectly straight. We're getting worse. Okay, that's not too bad. Want a bit more sky though, so bring that up. Get rid of some of this foreground. Emphasis a lot on the sky. We're going to transform it into a really dramatic sky. Okay, happy with that. As you can see, there's a lot of purple and a little bit of blue on the car. Obviously it's white, so I want the white to be really punchy and stand out. At the minute it's really subdued and like in the shadows. I don't like this purple tinge that the road's got, so we're going to address those first. So we'll do like a colour correction edit, and then we'll move on to making the car stand out from the background. So straight away we're going to hit the tint, bring that towards the green. We're going to take out a lot of this purple tint. Probably to about there. We're going to warm it up because I want to really emphasise in the sunset vibes. So bring that up roughly there. Bring the exposure up a bit so we know what we're working with. These settings will probably all be tweaked when we come to finalize everything. So quickly run straight down to the tone curve. 3 dots as normal. Let's drop these shadows a little bit. Drop the mids. Have a look at these highlights. Maybe drop them a little bit. Maybe push the mids actually. Creating a little bit of an S. Put a bit of fade in there. I like a little faded look on this shot. Right, okay, so back up to the top. Just rip all these highlights out. Now you can see where the trees start to come out. The sky gets a little bit darker. Boost the shadows a little bit. Don't really want to mess with the whites or the blacks too much, so we'll just leave them as they are for the minute. Okay, colour. So we want to push the orange. Push a bit of yellow, take some of the blues out, blues out the car, get rid of all the purple, and that's probably it for that now. So let's move on to making the car stand out a bit. So I'm going to throw a radial filter over it. I'm going to darken this background a little bit. Take some of the highlights out, warm it up a fraction, maybe a bit more. Yeah, looks alright. That's a bit better. Leave that one for now. Then we're going to take a graduated filter, bring that up from the bottom, roughly about where the car is, and then we're going to reduce exposure on this so the road's darker, so it brings all your attention straight to the car. Darken that off, it's a bit too much. Darken that off. Warm it up a little bit. Put a bit of clarity in there. Okay, so that's starting to look better. Car looks a little bit overexposed, so we'll just correct that. Take some of the exposure out. Take a bit of clarity out. Okay, so this radial filter I put in before, I'm going to duplicate this one. We're going to invert it. Reset the settings, boost exposure on the car, bit of contrast, take a bit of shadows out, Take some highlights out of the car. Oh, a bit of clarity, not too much clarity. You can overdo it with clarity on car photos. Bit of texture, take a bit of dehaze out. And then with saturation, this is a good tip for white cars. If there's a lot of like colours leaking onto the car, like the blues and the purples and that was in the beginning, put a radial filter or brush over the car and reduce the saturation. It'll bring the whites completely back. Obviously you've got to overdo it as well. Subtle detail to help you remove some of the colour reflections that happen on white cars. How we're looking, how we're looking. Can we make the sky a bit more dramatic? Another graduated filter down from the top. See if we can reduce some of the highlights even more. Take a bit more exposure out. Okay, we're looking good. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's brighten up these wheels a little bit. Get the brush. Go over the wheels. So with wheels, when you're trying to bring them back, so what you want to do is try and make them match the overall image. You can overdo it, and I'll show that now. If you whack loads of exposure in, you can blatantly see something's happened and there's been a lot of editing taking place. But 9 times out of 10, you can just bring some of the shadows out and you can bring a lot of colour and contrast back out. As you can see from the original, and they're dark and dull. Now they're all bright, match the image. Just removing some shadows, don't need any exposure or anything like that. Sometimes you do, but not very often. Bring the shadows up, nailed it. We're not far off, we're gonna make it a little bit more moody. We're gonna drop the exposure a little bit. And then we're gonna take the radial filter that was over the car and we're just gonna raise that up a fraction more. Maybe take some whites out. Put some blacks in. Bit of contrast, yeah. Warm it up a little bit more. And yeah, I think we're there. Pretty much there. Bit of reds because I like the reds in the grill. At this point we're just fine tweaking everything. So I think we need to make the colours pop a bit more. So we're going to put a bit of vibrance in, but not overdo it. So we're going to reduce the saturation just to kind of balance them out, so the colours will pop but they won't be like too in your face. I'm happy with how the edits turned out. It's exactly the look I was going for in the beginning. The car definitely stands out a bit more and we've gone really dramatic with the sky, and it actually wasn't that heavy of an edit. The tools and the methods used in this video are something I use all the time in my automotive photography, being the graduated filter and the radial filter, used to draw your attention to the car and also highlight the car and make it stand out from the background. But that's going to be it from me, guys. I hope you liked this video and maybe I taught you something new. If I did, please smash that like button. If you want to see more editing tutorials just like this one, please let me know in the comments below. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. With that all being said and done, I'll see you lot in the next one.